Joining us now is Robert F. Kennedy Jr., of course, presidential candidate. And Robert, first of all, we're so happy to have you here. What is your reaction when you saw that debate that the whole world watched and saw, oh, my goodness, our commander-in-chief clearly has diminished faculties?
Yeah, I mean, I was having the same thoughts that I think a lot of people were thinking about, which was, how did the press get this wrong? Why didn't they, why weren't they more skeptical about the claims? And are we in a situation where the chief executive of our country is not really in charge of our country and somebody else is running it? And, I think I'm worried, like everybody else, about whether this president has the capacity to take that phone call at 3 o'clock in the morning when he has to make a decision within 6 minutes about whether to retaliate against the Russians or China. And he's dragged from his bed and has 6 Secret Service men pushing him down the hallway, and he has 6 minutes to make a decision that's going to be consequential for all of humanity.
I think Robert Kennedy, John Katzmatidis, I think we're in a particular bad situation because I'm not worried about 4 more years. I don't think the country is going to elect him for 4 more years. But what do we do for the next 6, 7 months?
Yeah, I'm worried about that now too. We're in one of the greatest crisis periods in American history. We're closer to nuclear exchange with the Russians than any time since 1962, and there's nobody in the White House, not Anthony Blinken, who seem to be even listening to Putin and what he's saying. And last week, the White House authorized the bombing of a beach with cluster bombs off Russians and Russian territory. And we killed dozens of people, including many children, who were simply lying on the beach. So there seems like a level of, and this is after Putin is making a show in Cuba of firing missiles there, and also warning us that he is willing to use nuclear weapons. Russia has between 1,000 and 1,500 more nuclear warheads than we do. They have a better defensive system than we do. The Pentagon, a recent Pentagon study predicted that 90 million Americans would die in the first 24 hours of a nuclear exchange with Russia, and that another 90 million would die over the next 6 months. So the stakes are so high right now, and we've lost the war in Ukraine, and this administration seems to be making these increasingly reckless and desperate moves to save face that are endangering all of humanity.
Robert Kennedy, I was very upset at the fact, and I actually talked to President Trump about that he should bring it up at the debate, and he didn't, that you have no Secret Service protection, and you lost your uncle, you lost your father. I mean, and you are in third place in the election, and you deserve to have it.
And John, if I'm correct, someone tried to get into his house. Is that correct, Mr. Kennedy?
I've had 3 break-ins of my property. I've had a guy. I had this week another event where somebody was trying to trace my movements as I went through the airport in Oklahoma City. I had a guy show up with fake federal ID, U.S. Marshal White badges, and fake federal photo ID on his belt, asking to see me, to be escorted to me at the Green Room at an event that I did recently in Los Angeles. And he had 2 shoulder holsters with loaded magazines concealed. He had a backpack filled with guns, with spare magazines, with other weapons. He had a laser-sighted pistol. And luckily, a guy on my security team noticed that his badge was a little too shiny. And they, began questioning him, and then they realized that all of his ID was fake. So there's been a series of we gave the Secret Service 68 pages of credible threats against me. The Secret Service said that I was at an elevated risk. That was their assessment, and yet President Biden, I'm the first candidate since my dad died. When my dad died, they began providing the Secret Service protection to all the candidates.
Yeah, you deserve it, Robert. You absolutely deserve it.
Deserve it.
Yeah.
And I think, I can't find one good decision President Biden has made. And yours was not giving you Secret Service protection. That was another bad decision.
Yeah, it's crazy. Robert, before we also let you go, I want to hit on two things too. One is during the debate that of course Biden and Trump had, you had what you called the real debate. It was on X. And millions of people watched it. And also, you also got some interesting news today. Colorado, you're on the Libertarian ticket. So people are wondering, who do you think you're going to pull from? Or do you think you're going to have more, Trump voters potentially maybe go to you? Do you think you're going to have more Biden voters go to you?
Yeah, we had 11 million people watching our debate. I answered all the same questions as them in real time at the same time. People can see it by going to therealdebate.com. Right now, Rita, we just polled, and about 57% of the people who are supporting me say that if I leave the race, that they'll support President Trump. The big Zogby poll, which is 26,000 people, it's 10 times the typical poll, and it had a margin of error of almost zero, found that if I'm in the race, in a three-way race, President Biden will lose. But if I leave the race, and it's just him against President Trump, that he loses, much worse. And if I'm in a race alone with President Trump, I beat him. If I'm in a race alone with President Biden, I beat him in a landslide. I win 39 states, and he only wins 11. So my favorability ratings are better than either candidate's, and I'm doing better among independents. And the independents are now the biggest political party. So the Gallup poll released this week showed that Americans who identify as independents are 51% of voters, whereas only 23% identify as Democrats and 25% as Republicans. And my polls, I beat President Biden, President Trump among independents, in a landslide. So a lot of the polls that you read don't weight independents properly. They're only giving them 20%, but the Gallup poll says we should be giving them 35%. In which case, I win almost any race.
Wow. Well, people are following the race, and especially, Robert, given everything that we've been seeing in the White House of late, there is such chaos. There are so many things part shuffling now. And congrats on some of the headway that you are clearly making here, and 11 million tuning in to your debate. That's a biggie. Robert, thank you so much. We love having you on. You got to come back on again soon.
Thank you, Rita. Thank you, John. We'll see you soon.
Take care.
Thank you so much.